In today's Leeds news, another new pro deal, latest on the incomings, congrats to Charlie Cresswell, exit news, new goalkeeping coach expected, Leeds sign second short deal, and internationals due back. Morning, folks. Jer here on the 10th of July with your Leeds United news. Hope everyone's had a really good weekend. Some slight bits of updates. The membership stuff has launched on the channel. If you want to check that out, you can. Nothing's changing. Nothing's going anywhere. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything that's been here will always be here. There's nothing to worry about. It's just for anyone who wants to support the channel. Memberships are there. That's that. Also, there's a second YouTube channel launching that I'm launching with a friend of mine called Rowan, called Inside EPL. And that will be a channel that will be focused as an objective view of the entirety of the Premier League with obviously no Premier League interest in it for Leeds. So that will be launched. If you want to keep up to date with that as well, that'll be launching at some point either this week or next week, but I'll put some details out when that does. It's an alternative channel if you want Premier League stuff and you're still interested in the Premier League, even with Leeds outside it, we'll be doing some stuff over there. So you can check that out as and when you want. Let's move on to start talking about some news. And first things first, let's start off on a good note and congratulate Scott Gordon, who has completed his first professional contract at Leeds United, signing on last week. Scott is a defender who primarily plays on the left-hand side of the defence, but can play centre-back or left-back, which is good moving into a 21 side because Leeds could do it that next season. He is still young. It is his first pro deal, but a massive congratulations to Scott, who's the second academy player to sign a pro deal in the last 7 days. So well done to him. Let's move on. Let's talk about some incomings and Nat Phillips. Where are we with this? Well, it was brought out a couple of weeks ago from The Athletic that Leeds had an interest in the Liverpool centre-back. There is competition said to be in Spain and Italy in the player as well. Leeds will have to fight for him if they want to get the deal done. There's a £10 million price tag on Nat Phillips' head. The Sun are now claiming that Leeds did try to step in and get Phillips on an initial season-long loan deal. However, they say that Liverpool prefer a permanent deal and will be holding out for that fee of in and around £10 million, which I think is an awful lot for a player with only 26 appearances for Liverpool. Yes, he played for Bournemouth, and yes, he played in Germany for a bit as well. But I still think that's a lot of money for a player with very few Premier League appearances in his name at the age that he's at. So it's an interesting one. We have to wait and see. He's a decent footballer. He would be a good sign to add in, and Leeds will need to bring in some centre-back options, despite the fact that Cresswell is expected to play next season. Losing Diego Llorente and losing Robin Koch we saw last year, that left us very light with Llorente going out on loan. So Leeds will need to bring in another defender there. Anyway, the other big one that we've been talking an awful lot about over the last couple of weeks is Gustavo Hamer. And the Mail are now reporting that Leeds will be competing with some Premier League clubs for the player, and Fulham being the primary source of interest here. They claim that Fulham have looked at bringing the player in, but they see him as an ideal backup to their current number 10, Andreas Pereira, when he's not fit or if they need to replace him out during games. However, with Leeds, he would be considered as more of a first choice option and could have a first team place to lead Leeds hopefully back into the Premier League and then establish himself as a Premier League player with Leeds United next season if that was to happen. He has 21 goal involvements last season, 10 goals, 11 assists. He's a player of good calibre. It would be a fantastic signing if Leeds could get it done. I'm sceptical whether Leeds can get Joe Pirro and Gustavo Hamer or either two of them done at the moment. We really need to see what Leeds' muscles are like and how they're going to flex them in this transfer window. They would be massive signings. I'm a little sceptical. That's all. But we have to wait and see. It could very easily happen. Moving on, let's talk about some more good news. And congratulations to the England Under-21 side and specifically Charlie Cresswell on their European Under-21 tournament victory over the weekend. So you would expect now tournament over, Charlie Cresswell back to Leeds. Well, not just yet. Cresswell has been given an extended leave of absence from Leeds and is expected to come back to Leeds either at the end of next week or early the following week following this tournament, which has gone on quite a long time. But it's great to see him doing well. Didn't play, he was an unused sub, but did play games throughout the tournament. So still very, very much involved in that. Let's move on to exits. So this is going to keep happening. There's a lot of these lined up and they're going to start dropping like dominoes now. And we'll start off with Rodrigo. And there's been a lot of speculation about his future at Leeds, with a lot of clubs mentioned with him. Everton have been mentioned, the Premier League as well as Aston Villa. We've now seen Qatar and Sevilla as other options for the player destinations for him to head well now, according to Football Insider. So usual caveat with that, take it with a huge pinch of salt. They are claiming that Fulham are very interested in bringing Rodrigo to Craven Cottage. Rodrigo scored 15 goals last season in the Premier League and had a really good season despite two pretty bad injuries, a broken foot and a dislocated shoulder. Still did really, really well. And Fulham are said to want to offload Carlos Vinicius and Rodrigo Muniz in order to free up some space to bring in Rodrigo to the Craven Cottage club. It's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. We'll get to the who's due back in a second and where Rodrigo fits in this as well. But we'll move on to another exit. And over the weekend, Brendan Aaronson's loan move to Union Berlin was confirmed. Aaronson has signed a deal. It's a 1-year loan deal with no option or obligation to buy the player. It's a straight up loan. Apparently, Brendan Aaronson is expected back at the club next season. We'll have to wait and see with that. So who's next on the list? Well, Mark Rocca's long-awaited departure from Ellen Road continues, but according to Fabrizio Romano, Rocca move to Betis is now in full swing and it's expected to be concluded very shortly. It says that a full deal has been agreed with both parties and to join Betis with an option to buy in place there. So Mark Rocca may not be returned to Leeds should things go well from Spain, which I imagine it will. So Mark Rocca expected to leave Leeds imminently. That could be announced today or tomorrow, all done and dusted except for the medical situation, which needs to be sorted out. But that'll be that. And that'll be done. Mark Rocca did return to preseason with Leeds, it should be said as well, and was there last week. So, at least he's exiting the right way. Other exits, Diego Llorente rejoins Roma on another season-long loan. Straight up loan. Roma got what they wanted. No option and no obligation. I suppose we can have a moan and whinge about this one and say that we're getting our lunch stolen by Roma. Again, I would agree with those sentiments. However, what we can say with this is we have no idea if there's actually any interest in the player from any other parties, and this could just be a case of getting his wages off the books. He has signed a new deal at Leeds, so Leeds could essentially bring him back next season to the Premier League and sell him then. So Leeds still have control over this. He's off their books temporarily. He's not a player a lot of Leeds fans want to stick around, so he's off the books. The wages are going to be paid by Roma. Nothing on the Rasmus Christensen deal. That seemed to hit a big stumbling block last week. Apparently, Jose Mourinho was frustrated how long this deal was taking. Roma want a straight up loan deal for Christensen as well, with no option or obligation. Leeds want an obligation inserted in that deal. Roma not agreeing to that just yet. So as things stand, Rasmus Christensen, another player who could be coming back to Leeds pretty soon. Let's move on. Let's talk about other things expected at Leeds United. A new goalkeeping coach is expected to arrive this week at Leeds, according to The Athletic. And they are saying that Norwich goalkeeper Ed Wooten is expected to join up with Daniel Farke again. Wooten did work for Farke during his time at Norwich and will be the fourth member of Farke's previous backroom sides to join his new team at Leeds United. So let's move on. Let's talk about some other new things. A lot of new stuff today and this week. And then we'll start off with new shirt sponsors. And Leeds did announce a new front of shirt sponsor last week with Boxed T as their new shirt sponsor, as well as Unibet as their new training kit sponsor. Well, they've now added another one to this. AMT Auto will appear on next season's shirts as the second shirt sponsor, which will appear on the back of the shirt. Unlike the Premier League, it doesn't appear on the sleeve, it appears on the back. Leeds have apparently lost their lucrative deal with Wish, and that's also another issue with dropping out of the Premier League, that you do lose these deals as well. So Wish are gone, and AMT Auto, a local business within Leeds, are added. And then finally today we'll get on to internationals due back, and Leeds are expecting several players due back this week who didn't join up last week. All the international players who had the extended season at the back end of the season with their internationals and were given an extra week off, and they're now expected back this week. Max Fober, Rasmus Christensen, Leo Kjelde, Chris Klassen and Dan James are all labelled and mentioned by the YEP as players that are due back. No mention of Rodrigo or Rasmus Christensen in that list as well. They were both players that went off and at the same time as these other players, but nothing saying they're due back at the club. So we'll have to keep an eye on the social media and see if we're pictured or if they pop up in the media. They haven't left yet, still Leeds United players, so it'll be interesting to see, do they follow the Mark Rocca model and come back and train until they're gone, or are they going to train away from the club until they get the moves that look likely to happen? Dan James is an interesting one. He's obviously due back and is expected to be involved with Leeds this season. James has struggled at Leeds United primarily because he's been played as a striker when he's not a striker or a finisher. Hasn't really had a chance out wide for Leeds, and Jesse Marsh didn't play a winger, so when the opportunity came to move a player on last season, Dan James was the first one that moved on. He could have a huge part to play in Daniel Farke's system, and Daniel Farke could be the manager to get the best out of Dan James based on how he plays and just James's pace at that level in that division. So we'll have to see. It'd be nice to see him get a shot playing on the wing where his natural position is, and that's going to be it for today, folks. Not a massive amount just yet. I would imagine it'll pick up during this week. I would imagine we'll hear and see a lot of things happen this week. So we'll sit in, bed down, and wait for good news to happen this week, and then hopefully some incoming players as well as exits. So keep an eye on the Ryan Manning situation that could happen pretty soon, as well as some goalkeeping coach moves, which are likely to happen pretty quickly as well. So more news as it comes during the week, but I'll see you tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. Have a great day. Bye.